We will go. We will go.
In the longest sustained protest in Portland history, Occupy Portland ended its urban campaign in Chapman and in Lownsdale Squares Sunday. And for those anticipating a violent eviction, the occupiers and the city's response to them continued its civility. Portland police were left to enforce Mayor Sam Adams' order to remove protesters from the parks beginning at 12:01 a.m. Sunday.
We stay here united, we win!
The biggest challenge for protesters and city leaders being how to evict a community without defeating their cause. Spectators lined the sidewalks across the street from the parks like an audience to a reality show. The eviction deadline arrived.
At 12:01 on Sunday!
Like midnight on New Year's Eve, there was a countdown. Champagne corks popped. A parade of bicyclists, so Portlandian, orbited the event. As the night wore on, there were occasional confrontations. Police responded in a manner that didn't make situations worse. Those intent on confronting police were removed from the scene as police focused more on public safety than on indiscriminate law enforcement. As daylight came to Lownsdale and Chapman squares, Occupy Portland and the Portland Police Bureau showed more cooperation than conflict. Occupiers were mostly resigned to the inevitable eviction. Most had already left the park. Police and other city crews began removing tents and cleaning up the remains of the 39-day occupation. Police found mostly camping gear, but also potential weapons, none of which had yet been used against them. The park was nearly empty by noon, save for a few tents with people shouting from them, and dozens of cleanup personnel. Straw covered the mud ghosts of where tents had been pitched for over a month. Portland police, as they had all night, responded to confrontations when they arose, but a spirit of cooperation with the inevitable eviction was most common.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate that.
For those like Maggie Debusk and Elijah Hoffman, who had occupied the park for all 39 days, it was a bittersweet morning.
This movement isn't over just because they've taken this park from us. It's happening all over the world. We are in solidarity with every other place in America and around the entire world that is occupying. We're not alone here. This is the biggest social and political movement of human history.
This is by no means the end of our movement.
By 1:30 p.m. Sunday, protesters continued to linger around their former encampment. There were more confrontations and more arrests.
Folks that wanted to be arrested, we told them to have a seat. We would facilitate their arrest, which we did. It actually went very well with very minimal force.
Police cleared everyone out of the two parks by mid-afternoon.
Basically, when the sun came up, Lownsdale Square was pretty much empty. Most people had packed up and took their structures and left. The Parks Bureau helped clean up the rest of it. Where we're at now is the Parks Bureau is fencing off and has fenced off both parks and is removing all the debris.
The last of the protesters were herded onto Southwest Main Street between 4th and 5th Avenues. Flanked by the Portland Building and the Multnomah County Courthouse, the protesters shouted at police, sang at police, even quietly spoke to police, who stood guard across the roadway. Occupy Portland organizers arrived and tried to convince the last protesters to leave for more constructive action, like their daily planning meeting.
And if we really want to make a change, standing here yelling the same thing over and over again is not going to do anything. But going to Pioneer Square and having a GA that is constructive,